Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Will the Washington County Personnel Committee meeting please come to order? I've asked Justice Willie Lemming to lead in the prayer and the pledge. Justice Lemming.
Let's pray. Father, we want to thank you for the many blessings that you give each and every one of us each and every day. Father, just be with those that protect us, our military, our first responders. Just be with all them. They really need our prayers. Pray for our whole country. It's in a mess. Lord, just ask all this in your Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Justice Lemming. I do have one item that I would like to add to the agenda, and we have Chief of Staff giving us each our copy. Thank you. So I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2022.
Second.
And I have a second. This has to do with an Arpa or coordinator. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So now I will entertain and adopt a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second by Justice Dennis. The agenda has been adopted. Okay. We have item number 3 is number 4, the chairman's report, and I've deferred to our chief of staff, Brian Lester, who's going to explain a process that we're looking at incorporating into our budget processes later on this year. Good evening, Chief. How are you?
Good evening. I'm well. How are you? Thank you. There is something that's going to come up before you later, and it deals with some positions and funding. As you know, we hired a new HR director, December of last year, who came in after, budgets were already done and all this, but she has been going through all of our policies and procedures, kind of looking at what we're doing, and has made some changes in our procedures, which is always good to have fresh eyes come in and kind of see, help kind of set things on a different path that may be a little bit more beneficial. And one of the things she noticed from her previous time as the HR director for the city of Monticello was dealt with our salary administration program versus how we fund positions. And as you all are aware, nationwide people are having a hard time hiring people to come work for them. There's just a shortage of people that are willing to work, which means that the people that you do have out there, a lot of times they have a lot of experience, and when your only option is to bring them in at the very bottom, regardless of their experience, without any latitude, it becomes even more difficult. And so what she has proposed is, and it's just a proposal for you all in the Finance and Full Quorum Court to consider, is that we look at funding positions, just the funding that's given to a position, be at the either midpoint or the maximum, and what's before you tonight is the maximum. That doesn't change anything with the salary administration program, doesn't change anything about what the elected official can or cannot do, how they can hire. However, it does mean that there's part of the process that if approved through the appropriate channels, there's not a separate ordinance needed to go to finance to request money and then go to the full quorum court. And so under your salary administration program, everyone has to be brought in at the minimum range. However, after 120 days on the job, with approval from the JSAP committee, an elected official can increase someone's pay to the top of the first quartile, which is the midpoint between the bottom and the midpoint of the salary range. If they want to do something different, which is what the request is tonight, to bring some people in and not wait that 120 days and actually bring them in at a little bit more than the midpoint, they have to come to JSAP, and then they have to also come to personnel. And so I know there are going to be some questions as you see this, and JP Ecke asked that I explain it. It again, just because the funding is there doesn't mean that's what the person is making. They still have to follow the grade. They still have to hire according to the grade, and they have to follow the salary administration program. But the way it works now, elected officials don't really get the option of following the salary administration program because we don't fund anything except to the very, very bottom. And so this would allow an elected official some latitude in offering someone a job where they don't have to worry about going and asking for money and putting off a process, delaying a process further and further, because you lose applicants when that happens. It allows them to say, I can make this hire, I can make it conditional, or after 120 days on the job, I can move you up to here. And then if it's someone that has extensive experience based on the handbook, where we talk about first quartile, second, third, and fourth, they then have the ability to come in and say, hey, this person qualifies to be in the third quartile because of this. Here are all their experience. They've had 25 years doing this before coming here. They're very experienced, but we're not going to get them at this rate. We need to bring them up to a more competitive rate. And so just wanted you to have that in mind, that it's not an ask to start people at anything more than they would. And Judge Warren's budget is what it'll be in, because it's the first one that we've had come to us with new positions and new grading to actually roll this out for you to consider. And so again, it's just an ask for your consideration. It will have to go to Finance and Budget, and then it'll have to be approved by the full quorum court. So there will be time for a lot of conversations and discussions on, what you want that to look like, if that's something you're willing to consider.
Do I have any questions for Chief?
Sounds great.
At this point, do we make a motion on, or is this just
No.
a discussion?
No, I would just wait till it comes
I
up,
will wait.
and y'all just have the discussion as normal, but know those parameters as to why it looks like that.
And then any funding that's left over at the end of the year does get rolled back into County
Absolutely.
General as the process has always had.
There will be a
been.
lot more rollback
Yes.
in to County General at the end of the year.
So it will look like an inflated budget at the beginning, but at the end, you'll have that much more to roll
The
back.
other issue is when we look at budgets, and you are given a budget, middle of this year, you'll get a budget for 2022, and it'll all be based on the final numbers approved in 2021. Those numbers always change. And so when you look at those 2021 or 2022 numbers going into 2023 and see that someone's more, quite a bit further, most likely it's because the quorum court has appropriated money and has approved it, but it kind of gets skewed in looking at it to see what those funding numbers are. And so it oftentimes causes some confusion, and we get a lot of questions about it. And so this would kind of help where the budgets wouldn't look that different if you're really not increasing what you're asking for and kind of doing what kind of keeping a flat budget. It's going to look more like a flat budget when you get that to look at.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Do you want me to talk about this
Yes,
one?
and then secondly, we are going to talk about Ordinance 2022. It's creating an ARPA administrative position in the American Rescue Plan budget.
So we are asking for the creation of an ARPA administrator. This is something I've talked to, and Judge Wood has talked to Treasurer Hill a lot. There's a lot of reporting, a lot more than what we normally get at a grant. And given the amount of reporting that is required for the ARPA funds in any way that we spend them, is more work than Treasurer Hill has time for, and it certainly overwhelms, and we don't have the capacity to do so in our grants department. And so fortunately, with ARPA, one of the guidelines allows us to hire someone to help facilitate the ARPA funding and help do all the reporting and keep track of all the funds and where they're going, the requests. And so this person would basically, it's a data position to keep track of everything that's come in, all that's been appropriated, where it's going, and to help kind of oversee all of the ARPA spending, answer questions, come and present to you or to county services or whoever that may be. And so we are asking for this. It would this position only extends while we have ARPA funding, or until the end of 2026 when the ARPA funding has to be exhausted. And so it will not be a position that will continue in the county. It is for a limited position for this particular purpose to come out of the funding and not out of county general.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any questions? If not, I'll entertain Okay. J.P. Stafford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So would this position be overseeing all projects and spending from ARPA, both for county-related projects and anything spent, outside the county for NGOs? This would be looking at overseeing both of those?
This position would oversee the data. It wouldn't necessarily oversee or administer any funds or approve any funds, but it would just be the data. So if there are funds that go out to a non-county entity, an NGO, and there was information that's needed for our reporting, this position would get that information from the NGOs or the entities so that we would have, because with this reporting, it's really different. We've got to do a lot of narratives. And so this person would be gathering all of that data from all these various entities to make sure we have it to provide our correct reporting to the Department of Treasury. Yep.
I have Justice Pond.
Brian, whose office or what department will this person be working out of?
This will just be under the county judge.
Okay, in other words, if someone had a question for this individual, he would come to the 5th floor. Would they be located there?
Most likely, we'll try to find a place on the 5th floor, or I really don't know where that would be right now, but somebody will be here at the courthouse for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move that we adopt.
I have a motion by J.P. Dennis and a second by Justice Pond. Is there any public comment? Seeing that there's none, this will be passed on to the Budget and Finance Committee with a due pass recommendation.
Public comment.
I did public comment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. That's okay. Thank you. This ordinance has been passed on to the Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to 5.1, an ordinance appropriating $61,784.63 from unappropriated reserves of the general fund to various line items in the Circuit Court 6 budget for 2022. Do I have anybody to speak on this one? I do believe this is Judge Beaumont, and they're creating a new position that will only exist for 5 years or the length of the grant, and it's to expand drug court and to get some an additional position to help in that. Do I have a motion to pass this on to the Budget and Finance Committee?
I got a question.
Okay.
Is this grant, is it just paying half of this, or are we paying half, the county paying half of it? The way I understand the grant, it's just for the half the amount of money. Is that true?
I believe the money is to reimburse half of the salaries for 2 drug court case managers and positions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Move to approve.
I have a motion for approval,
Second.
and I have a second. I have Justice Washington.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question for clarification. Is this Court 6 or Court 4?
I'm sorry, Court 4.
Okay.
A little dyslexia going there. Court 4 is Judge Beaumont's court. Is there any public comment? Seeing that there's none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries, and this is passed on to the Budget and Finance Committee. Okay. Next, we have an ordinance appropriating $11,874.72 from the unappropriated reserves of the general fund to various line items in the tax collector's budget. Whereas the Washington County Tax Collector's Office performs an analysis of its structure and determined that a reorganization would be better to serve the public's interest by increasing the efficiency of the tax collector's office. And I do have Angela Wood, if she wants to come in and talk about, let me see. Good evening, Ms. Wood.
Good evening. My head bookkeeper left at the end of the year, took another job, and so I need to do some reorganization, move some people around. It opened up a few positions, so I moved people who would best fit in those departments. So it moved 3 people to different positions. That one girl, she is in the same grade, but there's just not enough money in that grade because she's making more than somebody else. And so that's why we have to come back and ask for some more money for these grades. I feel like they're the best fit in those positions and will work best in those departments. So that's why I'm doing this.
Are there any questions for Ms. Wood? Yes, J.P. Stafford.
Thank you. So just to clarify, this wouldn't necessarily require any changes in the grades. This is just moving in between the existing structure, basically. Thank you.
Sorry.
Correct.
I have a motion to pass this on to Budget and Finance and a second by J.P. Pond. Is there any public comment? Thank you, Ms. Wood. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. This will be passed on to the Budget and Finance Committee. Now we have an ordinance, item number 7, appropriating $77,039.10 from the Recorder's Cost Fund to various line items in the Circuit Clerk's Recorder's Fund. This will be coming out of Mr. Sylvester's Recorder Fund, and it will just be passed on to Budget and Finance because it is an appropriation, but this will not come out of County General. So it's pretty simple. I'd like to entertain a motion. I have a motion from Justice Lemming and a second from Justice Stafford. Is there any discussion? Is there any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries and it's passed on to Budget and Finance. Okay, item number 8. An ordinance appropriating $48,617.83 from the County Library Fund to various line items in the County Library budget. This is a request from our current library administrator, and she's getting ready to retire. And she wants to bring in somebody who has a master's in library science to train her before she retires. And so this is what this money is for the rest of the year. She says, I have submitted the job description to Human Resources and the position has been evaluated by the Johansson Group for the job rating. It just needs to go to JSAP committee in February, which it has, and the budget I presented to the library board, and I have added the cost of a partial year of that position, but have not included it in the county's budget. So she's requested that we move this on to Budget and Finance so she can hire somebody and train her before she retires. Is there any discussion? I have Justice Pond.
This will be paid from the millage that funds the libraries. Comes not any out of our general fund. I move to pass.
I have a motion to pass. Is there a second? I have a second by Justice Stafford, is there any other discussion?
Lisa,
Justice Lemming?
so how long is the lady that's retiring gonna be here?
I do believe,
Is she retiring soon? I mean, the 48,000 in her, I guess her money will go back into the general? No, it stays in the library? So whatever she's so 48,000 for the rest of the year, so what's she gonna be a total of whenever she's hired? Do we know yet?
say that again, I didn't
Do we
understand.
know what she's gonna be a total, what she's gonna make a total? The 48,617?
The assistant is what she's going to be paying her for the rest of the year.
I know for the rest of the year, so next year, is she gonna be making more? Or is that to her? You don't know what she's gonna be hard at? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, 2 more months' worth?
Either that or making, since she'll become the
Making what she was
administrator,
making?
and that's going to be up to the budget.
Okay, so we don't know yet.
I don't.
Thank you.
So I have a motion and a second to pass this on to Budget and Finance. Is there any other discussion? Any public comment? Seeing that there's none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion carries, and this will be passed on to the Budget and Finance Committee. Next on the agenda is item number 7, an ordinance appropriating $77,039.10 from the Recorder's Cost Fund to various line items in the Circuit Clerk's Recorder's Fund. We've already done that one, haven't we? We sure did. I apologize. We go to 9. Okay. I apologize. Thank you. Y'all are sharp. Okay, item number 9. An ordinance appropriating $19,503.29 from the unappropriated reserves of the general fund to various line items in the Buildings and Grounds maintenance budget. This comes from our director, Dwight Gonzalez. And let's see. The following employees have successfully completed additional training, receiving industry credentials, and has superior work experience that exceeds the minimum requirement for their positions. And he highlights Johnny Peoples and William Scottsnert has successfully completed and been awarded with the Facility Maintenance Manager Professional, the FMP credential. The average worldwide salary increase for this credential is $50,000. I'm sorry, $5,000. And then you have Justin Hayes has successfully completed the Buildings and Grounds Operator Certification, the BOC, according to the NEEC survey. 55% of the graduates receive a salary increase that they otherwise would not have received. And then finally, let me see. You have the 2 maintenance facilities or custodial workers that he is also asking for a raise because they have 5+ years experience and have consistently exceeded job expectations, and due to the knowledge and experience that they have obtained during this time, they far exceed the minimum requirement for this position. And they also have 2 vacant janitorial positions, which they are not able to fill. And then he would like to request that the pay rate be retroactive back to the first pay period of 2022.
Move to pass.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Is there any discussion? I have Justice Lemming.
Does this give us, there's 4 employees gonna take this 19,000 and divide it? Does it?
Well,
what
turn the
moves
page.
to percentage?
Turn your page over on, okay, do you not have this? Okay. Will you pass this on so you can see? It's this one, Justice Lemming. And it shows you how much they're making and the increase right here. Thank you, Justice Pond. If you all just give him a moment to look at that. before we move on to any other discussion? Okay. Is there any public comment? Seeing that there's none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? No. I have one no. And that's Justice Lemming. The motion carries to the Budget and Finance Committee for approval. Okay, item number 10, an ordinance changing the grade of the GIS mapping specialist position in the IT budget and appropriating $57,544.06 from various funds to various budgets for 2022, item 22-0-021. We have recruited somebody with a PhD in mapping, and the approval of increased allocation and budget grade change is going from a G16, and that is just a entry technician, to a G26 for GIS mapping position. And this is a county-wide position. They're not just doing specifically just for one department or one area. They will be included in 911 emergencies and that kind of GIS mapping. And a PhD in that field, we're very fortunate to have this employee. So I would entertain a motion for approval.
Do we know who that employee is?
They did not disclose the name.
Okay.
I have Justice Pond.
We've had several discussions on this, mapping. And this individual will be doing work for several different departments in the county. And because of experience in JSAP, I appreciate that we don't know the fella's name. We should be deciding these without determining who's going to get the raise. Probably should have done that on that other one too, but I voted for it anyway. Do we have a motion on this yet?
No.
I move to approve.
Pass this on to the Budget and Finance Committee. Do I have a second? Second. And I have a second from Justice Marty, and I have a discussion by Justice Dennis.
So listen up, public, on this one. I will only vote for this if that person is willing to change the way that we do the maps, because we put WC, road number 209, 309, and it says WC on the map. That's not a Washington County road. That is a road in Washington County that's a private road. And so when a person goes out to buy a piece of property, they think they're getting road grader work, they think they're getting gravel, they think they're getting all this other stuff, and they're not. So if we're going to pay for someone to do the maps correctly, I want that done, or I'll vote no. So I don't know who the person is. I don't know who makes the decisions on that, but I've seen that work very poorly in the county, and it's maybe no one's fault, but if the person walks out and buys a piece of property and they look at the map and it says WC and then the road number, they're thinking it means Washington County Road. A lot of us know differently, that if it's a rectangular sign versus a diamond-looking sign or a different sign, we know that. But that person that just bought that property doesn't know that.
I didn't know that.
And it needs to be changed, because I saw it happen, and they read the map and they showed it to me, and they said, we bought this property knowing it was road graded, and we bought this property knowing that it was a Washington County road, and now it's not, and it's declared not, and they're not. The county said we're not going to do it, and so they couldn't get to their house today because too slick, too steep, too muddy, and it used to be graded, now it's not. And that's just one. And that's just one I know about. So I'll reserve my vote for that reason. So you say, well, why do you vote no? I want to vote yes if I think that person's going to do that, but,
Well, why don't we make sure that they do that?
okay.
What it wasn't,
Then if I
would
have
that
that
be a part-
avenue, I'll vote yes, but otherwise
Okay.
I'll vote no.
thank you. And what we want to do is serve our community. And the employees of Washington County are an essential component to that. And so we will just make sure that that gets done. And we will communicate that with the judge and the roads department.
Very good, thank you.
Very astute observation, thank you. I didn't know the difference between rectangles and square, whether it is or isn't. You educated us.
The county one's not rectangle, or isn't. Different shape.
Okay.
It's Pentagon, is it?
Pentagon, okay. All in,
Pentagon.
I have a motion and a second.
I'm gonna argue with him a little bit. Might possibly be to the county judge. I live on one of those that's not maintained by the county, and I, myself and my neighbors maintain that little road.
That's right.
And thing about it is, we knew that when we moved in there on it. And
How'd you learn that?
the problem is, well, it's just, you know, I've been to the School of Hard Knocks, but the problem with that is there are a whole bunch of those little square roads, and we need to leave that up to the county judge's discretion, which ones of those ought to be maintained and which ones ought not. If you can figure out some kind of system to maybe assist in real estate transactions where those people know that's not maintained. Now I'm getting in the real estate business. I better be quiet. I'm just gonna vote to approve this either way.
And I will say that this position has no say
A lot of
in
politics.
overriding
A lot of
what the
politics
signs are
going
or
on
what the
here.
signs are not the position. Because that decision is not in their purview.
Well,
It's not up to them to decide, it's up to them to map for emergency services and 911 and everybody else. It's mapping.
I will wait till I'm recognized, Madam Chair. So
Yes, sir, you're recognized.
the point I want to make, J.P. Pond pointed out that he learned that by hard knocks. A person moving in here from California, Colorado, or whatever example you want, and they are smart enough to look at the maps and then pick out a piece of property, and it says it's a WC road. So they're not learning by hard knocks until they buy it and find out it's not a Washington County road. I was told realtors know that. The person I'm talking about was a realtor. So I just want the public to understand that not all WC roads are Washington County roads.
Do noted.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, the discussion, I have a motion and a second to approve this position, the GIS manager. Is there any other discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries to Budget and Finance. Next is an ordinance changing the grades, various positions in the Circuit Court 8 budget. This is Judge Warren's budget. And appropriating $119,445.43 to various line items in the Circuit Court 8 budget for 2022. We do have Judge Warren here, I do believe, to speak on this, but this is some house cleaning that we're doing to make everything equal in both judges' courts, because right now it is not. So Judge Warren,
Can you hear me?
thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. So there are sort of three different parts of the ask tonight. One part tidies up the grades of the positions. So when we were going through the budgeting process, the positions that were posted and requested did not run through JSAP or the grading process for reasons I won't go into, but anyway, that didn't happen. And so after the budget process was completed, Human Resources and the Chief of Staff indicated that that probably needed to be done. So the positions that were posted and approved by the Quorum Court went back through the whole grading process, and the gradings on those were changed. In one position, the grading went up, and then I think in the others they went down. So that's one part of the ordinance that is before you tonight, is for you to approve the grades for the positions, and that the grades that are before you now in the ordinance are the grades that were established through the grading process that every other position has gone through. The second issue that will come before you today is one of a more routine nature. That is that I'm excited and pleased to say that we have some very well-qualified candidates who have applied for positions, and we would like to offer 4 specifically of those candidates more than the minimum amount for the grade that is approved, and so we're asking for approval to offer them more. And so you'll see 4 justification letters that went through before JSAP today. And that's what we're asking to pay those individuals because of their experience. We have somebody coming over from the Office of Child Support. We have somebody coming from the Springdale Police Department. We have somebody coming from the Washington County Detention Center. And we have somebody coming from California who's new to the area, who has had 10 years of advocacy for children who are in this population that we'll deal with. So I'm really excited about their qualifications, really excited about the team that we're building, but so we're asking for some additional approval to hire them at more than the minimum level of the grade. And then the third part that you'll see, and this is probably what is most, this is what Chief of Staff Lester was talking about at the beginning of this meeting, and that is that And this, I did not ask for this, but I asked for the ordinance to approve the new grades. And I was surprised to see then in the ordinance when it would require more money to be approved from the budget. And so I inquired, why was that? And that's when Mr. Lester explained to me, and Human Resources explained to me, that they have put together this budgeted amount based upon that idea that Mr. Lester was talking about, that you would budget it for the maximum of the grade level rather than the minimum of the grade level. And so that's why there's an increase in the budget. And so my budget, if this were approved, would be different from how the other budgets have been approved, because the budget process up until now has budgeted for positions at that minimum level.
Well said. Are there any questions for Judge Warren? I have Justice Lemming.
So the new people, if we pass that, when they come on board, are they going to be making more than just the people already here?
No.
No.
So I'm talking about in all the system, not just your court.
So I believe when I submitted my job descriptions, the Johansson Group did not treat that as a regrade of positions that existed in Division III in the other juvenile court. They treated it as a new position, but they did track it with the grades that were in Division III. And so I believe that the grades of the positions that we're asking for approval for tonight are consistent with the grades in Division III. I don't believe, in fact, I think the director in my court is at a 22, and I believe the director in Division III is at a higher grade than that. But I don't believe that there is any grade that we're asking for approval for Division VIII that is higher than is anything in Division III.
Correct.
Because it would be bad to bring them in, and people have been here 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and you bring them in making more than they're making, that won't be fair.
Right.
So I think we need to look at that a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's the purpose of this ordinance, and the purpose for doing this is so that way that does not happen. And this is making everything fair and according to the job evaluation assessment program that we have. And it's making it on a level playing field where you don't make more coming in, and you don't have that compression of the structure, because, you know, you're making more than what you did here. So that's the purpose behind this. I have Justice Pond.
This evening here, we're looking at Judge Warren's budget, her department, her division. And we don't really need to be discussing, I don't believe, what's happening in the other courts. If there's some situation in another court, that would be to the discretion of that judge, and they should come before us. We need to be looking at this and seeing if this is something that we could approve, and I move that we approve this.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. And I have a second. Is there any other discussion? Thank you, Judge Warren.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment? Seeing that there's none, this will go to the Budget and Finance. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 13, is there any public comment? Did we do 12? 12 is public comment. Seeing that there's no public comment, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.